Are you so over being told how you're supposed to act, how you're supposed to look, how you're supposed to show up on camera, how your lighting's supposed to go, and you just actually want to be yourself and be authentically you and have that be enough? Well, today in this conversation, we're going to get real and raw about that and give you some tips on just how we did the same. I'm Leslie Urbis. I'm a registered dietitian and a personal trainer, and I'm here today with Sarah. Sarah, throwing it over to you. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Sarah Brushy, and I am an educator above all. I tutor, and I've been tutoring for the past 10 plus years, math mostly, and writing. And I just tell quirky stories and I give practical advice that I hope to empower other women with, other moms and parents out there. And so I've started this path down. Trying to see what I can do to grow my reach, see more people, because I've really been focused on one-to-one with students and talking about mostly math and telling them stories at the same time. And I just realized how much I love to tell my stories and give people the help that they need. So I think it's a great chance to just be on this. So thanks so much. And I'll say already, people can find me at saraheducator.com. That's like my main gig, obviously, is education.
Yeah, cool. So I know we were talking about, and obviously, yeah, the link will be below. So please go check her out there. And I know we were chatting before, but we were just kind of talking, it's 3 p.m. my time, it's 6 a.m. your time. So the lighting would never be right if we even tried to record this conversation, at least in the
Totally.
fall. Maybe it could be if we did it like 9 and 6 p.m., but who
Yeah.
knows? So we were just discussing how, we follow people and that we enjoy following other people who just kind of do it their own way. So I'm curious, what was your turning point to make yourself just be like, you know what, forget it, I'm just going to do it my own way? When did you decide to do
Oof,
that for yourself?
great question. That was when I gave birth to my twin boys because I had heart failure. And so when my heart failed, I decided that it was kind of silly to worry about the small stuff if the big stuff was like, well, why am I doing this? All of a sudden, I questioned what was the point of my being in the world. And it was a pretty big question, obviously, and it was a pretty deep and difficult time period. I had to wait for 2 weeks to see if my heart would recover. And so during those 2 weeks, it was like a long time to be thinking, great, I just did something I really, really wanted to do and have. I had my twin boys finally. And it was so annoying, really, just, upsetting. I was mad that I get to this point and then what? What have I done everything for? And so I was like, okay, I need to find my purpose, my reason for being. And it can't be just following along what everybody tells me to do. I did that. I love to analyze things, but I felt like I was wasting my time, my life on I was a researcher in education at the time, which I enjoy, but there is so much else in the world that I wanted to do. So I had to create my own path. And then second to that, I got divorced. And then the divorce was like a total turning point as well. And I started watching other women and how they changed their lives and what I wanted to pull from their ways, their paths. It was going to be my own way. And so I had to start looking around and seeing what I could do. So that those two events were the two that really solidified my I'm taking a unique path here. I'm doing what I want to do. And I do it by any means necessary, get what I want to do, but also like with an element of kindness. Like I have to be somebody who helps in the world because that is important to me.
I love it. I would definitely agree with you on being a parent, but I think mine kind of came second, my second one. And I think that was truly because, gosh, I don't know why. I think it was just with two, it was just like, this is too complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just didn't want to be what everybody else told me I had to be, right? I was like, I'm so done with it. My story when I was little was that when I was in second grade, I was 8 years old. We do confession. I'm Catholic by trait. Okay, really by now. I was raised Catholic, but I associate less with Catholicism at the minute. goes by. But we had to do confession. And I remember the teacher being like, you are a sinner. You have been a sinner for 8 years. You seriously should not come back tonight without knowing all of your sins and really confessing to them, because you have been a sinner for 8 years. I remember that. And I remember going home and being like, gosh, I'm a sinner. And I remember being done with confession and not actually feeling any different and being like, I'm still a sinner. But I didn't want to tell people, right? Like I was going to go tell my teacher, wasn't going to tell the priest, wasn't telling my parents for sure. Like I'm not about to just be like, I'm still a sinner. I don't know how to save myself. I'm just this horrible person. And I think with my daughter, with her and being postpartum with her, I think I started to really think about what I was harboring as a mother, that she was just going to start picking up because of me and myself. And I just didn't want her to. And then once I had my son, and then time and things just kind of went all over the place, it was like, I'm just going to pave my own way. So with that being said, and you kind of formulating your own things, what are like 2 or 3 rules that you kind of live by, or tips that you give to people to be like, this is how you get yourself out of your way of doing something that everybody else tells you to do, and instead just really tune in to like, this is my authentic self talking. Like my authentic self tells me I don't want to be on calls at 9 p.m. at night. Okay. Now I have a reason too. I live in Spain right now, and 9 p.m. at night, my time is still 12 p.m. your time. But there's not an inkling in me that goes, I want to be on calls at 9 p.m. so I can connect with somebody PST. I think we could work it out somewhere between your 9 to 12 and my, 6 to 9 instead, or whatever, right? So I'm just curious on your side, are there some things or rules you live by, or authentic pieces that you would give the audience as takeaways?
Definitely. I would say people is finding my gurus. So I go out there and I look at people that I like something very much about them. For me, I like a lot of authors. So Joyce Maynard, Stephen King, David Sedaris. These are the people that I look at. I love their quirkiness too. And I think as a math person, I've always seen myself as a little bit, outside of the norm. I think I started when I was really young, saying like, I like things that maybe other people find really annoying or difficult or whatever. And I went, I guess I'm just different. And so I became really okay with different. And then I saw that other people were okay with being different. And I went, okay, so I can, and then as I grew older and I needed other examples, models. I think we need so many models, because then we can pick and choose what we like out of them. I'm also like, I call it like being steeped like a tea bag into the religion thing too. I'm also Catholic, and I do the cafeteria Catholic. You pick and choose what you like, and you leave the rest behind if it doesn't suit you. But you could create a very nice life like that, and you can hold on to some of the things that are working for you and toss out the things that are not your style. And so I really like having people. And the other thing that I do is definitely mantras. So I have one that I really, really like when I got divorced, that is, just because somebody calls you a carrot doesn't make you a carrot. And it doesn't really go for the ex so much. Like, it's fine for that, but it goes for people just saying, oh, it's so sad that you're divorcing. No, it's not. It's fabulous. Why would I be like, I wasn't happy in my marriage. I left my marriage. Why would I be unhappy? So just because you're calling leaving a marriage a sad thing doesn't mean it's a sad thing. It's not for me. It could be for someone else, but just because you call it a carrot doesn't make it a carrot. And if somebody calls you a name too, because as you go through parenthood, I'm sure all other parents probably listening know, you deal with a lot of judgment as a parent. And when I would have twins and I'd be navigating, I'm going through IKEA, and all of a sudden they're both screaming, crying, and have fallen apart, and you can't find your way out of IKEA. This was like one moment for me that I'm sure we can all sort of identify with. And there was the nicest person, this man who comes up and he said, can I help you? My kids were sick and I didn't realize it. And I get in the middle of IKEA. They have their full meltdown. and I can't carry them both. They were just at that point where I couldn't get them both off the floor in my arms. And this wonderful man comes over and he goes, I could carry one. Would you like to go back to your car? I was like, yes, please. And he knew the way out of IKEA that I couldn't find.
That's the golden ticket. I get
So
it.
he gets me down to my car and I'm like, you must be a parent. And so I realized that some people in some moments are going to be those fabulous, not judgmental, wonderful helpers. And that the more we can do that for each other, the better, but we're not always going to show up that way. And so we have to let it go when there's something too that when somebody calls us a carrot, if somebody was looking at me and going, oh, you're crazy or you're a bad mom, how could you bring your kids here sick? I didn't realize until I saw all the gooiness coming out of them in the middle of IKEA. So, it was like and other times I've been fabulous at like even predicting, I can show up on a different day and be the mom who has my son, his glasses got broken while he was playing with the parachute one day in first grade. And they call you know how you get that phone call and it's, oh, you have to get down to the school right away. I was already on my way to school. And I get there and I'm like, what was the issue? And they say, oh, he broke his glasses and he's just crying. And I was like, oh, guess what? I have an extra pair of glasses in my purse for him right now. Why? It was a miracle of miracles, right? But I look like best mom of the century. How could you possibly predict and have a second pair of glasses in your purse? You got here 5 minutes before we even thought you would. You just happen to be here. We can look fabulous or we can look ridiculous, I think. And it's just to us inside ourselves to say, what do we see? Do I know whether I am what I'm being labeled as, or do I believe in that, or do I not believe in that? And I can just shut it off as if you said, this pen is a table. I would go, that's okay. No, it's not. And it was much harder to do that, I think, when I was younger, when I was listening a lot to other people and trying to fit a mold. And as I got out of the mold, I think I was much more able to, keep that. But people, mottos, fabulous for my growth. And I think that's just something to hold on to.
Awesome. Yeah. I always go back to, and I know Rachel Hollis didn't coin this. Somebody else said it first. I've heard it a million times since then, but her and her, I think it was in the book, Girl Wash Your Face. Like your other people's opinions is none of your business. However, I really like to believe that people are judging you either way. You could do it perfectly right. And the person that's taking that as, oh, you're so good, is judging you from a negative perspective. So you're going to get judged either way. And so the true opinion is that how are you respecting yourself? And that's really how I come down to it in deciding. And sometimes I really decide against things of what I think, I think about things that, my cousins growing up with might be talking behind my back about, or people that I went to high school, the people that are nobody now, but that forms the basis of your like belief in yourself, right? Those are the people I typically hear in my head of like, I'm hearing their judgment. I'm like, but doesn't matter. Like I've moved to Spain and I've talked to my cousins, I don't know, maybe all of them, maybe like 4 times period, if even, like, I don't even know. Like, to be honest, I'm like, have I even talked to any of them in the past 2 years? No, but in your head, you have it, right? Yeah. So I love how you say that about the judgments. And I truthfully just know, like, in those moments I go to, how can I show up best for me and my kids? Because at the end of the day, I'm the only one who still allows myself a judgment. Sure, they may go home and talk about this random lady in the store, or this woman, or, this wife, this man's wife who's like flaky, or, I think that about the doctor today, because I kind of had a little bit of an attitude, my husband said at my kid's appointment, but it wasn't with him. I didn't like the assistant that was helping. I was like, why are you not friendly? You're helping my kids get their weights. And you're like, she's like, stand up straighter, go to the back. I'm like, they're 4 and 6. And this is like, right. I was like, this is the scale. It's not a wall. So they're not understanding. And if they move their feet back too far, they're not, like, I'm just like, what is happening? Like you're in the pediatrician's office, right? Right. Yeah. So I'm judging her. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm not in a good mood now. And I was, I was like, you know what? I don't even care. I don't even care that I'm I should have just been like,
Yeah,
listen, we need to have her like be more helpful
yeah,
for like kids, you know, or move her.
absolutely.
She can be with adults like me. I'd be fine if she
Yeah.
was like that with me, you know, but anyway,
Yeah. I think
so
I'm a
yeah, I
very
get it.
authentic speaker too. I think that
Yeah.
when that happens, I've had many of those like medical times, and being like a math person, I've encountered people where they didn't know, but I don't mind if somebody doesn't know math, never a problem. But if somebody just fakes things along and says, "Yes, I do know," when they don't know, that will bother me a lot, because that's just not telling the truth. And that's a basic principle that we have, treat others as you want to be treated. And so once, yes, my son was getting his ear tubes in, and so it was like a little surgery, and had a similar situation to you. There was nothing in the room that was like to entertain. They wanted him to take some medicine. I have the twins, right? One is the easy model, sort of. And so he was the easy model. You just get him, you tell him what to do, he does it. But they were trying to get him to take medicine he didn't want to take. They measured him a funny way. And when she measured, she did a ruler and a scale. She couldn't read for his height. You know how they pull up that bar and put it on top of
Yeah.
your head, the metal.
Yeah.
They She did that, but didn't understand how to read the ruler. And I was like amazed. So she estimated his height afterwards, and I saw her put it down. And the same thing with the weight. Their digital scale was broken that day, or maybe it was broken for a week. And she estimated rather than use another method. She just estimated his weight. And you have to speak up as a mom. That involves what kind of anesthesia they're getting, I guess. I don't know. I'm not the expert. So I have to trust in other people to be the expert sometimes. And so we need help from other people, and we need to, treat them nicely so that we get, the good services that we want, or how we would want to be treated. But I think you're right about expecting certain, levels of care and especially in certain situations. And I think it's so important that we speak up. If we don't, imagine what happens to the next person, the next person, the next person. And so that's a great thing that I think women need to do more. I think we tend to be very quiet. We want to please. We want to do these things. I mean, if I always need to write this as my essay, have it coming forth, but it is about toothbrushes. Have you ever seen like a toothbrush that is the image for a boy versus the toothbrushes that we have for girls? I think people should look at that more. We should take a picture and show it to everyone. So, do you know the idea? So, a boy's toothbrush is he's like a killer. He's out there to conquer the world. His eyeballs are big as he's going on his adventure, and he's taking over, and his muscles are showing. And the girl toothbrush, so this is what we're giving to our children when they're 3, 4, 5, at the very beginning of their lives. The girl toothbrushes are completely like, it's okay, whatever happens, happens. And the eyes are big, and they look like they're vacant inside. And I just think that that is a very vivid picture of the messages that we send to women and men. I are sending those messages to everyone about how we treat each other and how we are to be treated, our place in the world. And so I do think it's something where we need to be authentic, and we need to, carve our own paths and speak about those paths too. Very important to speak about them when we need to.
Agreed. Yeah. So all of this is to be authentic for yourself. As I stated before, you will see Sarah's links below to connect with her. And we would love to hear. Comment below with your take on what authentic means to you. And of course, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And when the podcast is fully out, I will see you on that as well. Bye for now, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.